Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello. Today we've got Diana Pagano on the show. Diana, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. It's a
Great
pleasure.
to have you here. Great to have you here. So, who is Diana? If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick for our audience who may not know you just yet. If you do, awesome. Maybe you have some fans listening, but maybe they don't know me yet either. So, making introductions.
Sure. My name is Diana Pagano, as you said. I kind of do different things, but currently I am a VP of Sales and People Operations at a multi-million-dollar company. It's a family-owned business. My husband is second generation, really started over 30 years ago.
Cool.
I'm also a speaker and author. I am big on Make Things Happen movement. I'm the founder of that movement. I also do live events. And so really just all about empowering people on how we're making things happen, because we're all making things happen, good or bad, right?
Yeah.
It's just how are you going to make things happen to achieve the goals and get the results that you really want at the end of the day. And it's not Diana Pagano tells you that you're making things happen the wrong way. It's just based on what you want. Not everybody values the same things, and we're always going to go after the things that we value most in our lives.
Absolutely. I love that. Make things happen, because whether we know it or not, we're making things happen, good or bad. Maybe we're making the wrong things happen because we're not taking the right action. So We're going to be talking about, creating the results that you want. I'm assuming that's goal setting and planning, and how do you actually break your big goals down into little goals that you can actually do today. So how do you usually tell your coaching clients, or whenever you're speaking? I'd love to hear, is there a framework? Is there somewhere we should start? Feel free to lead the way.
Sure. It's interesting, Chris, because we're all having these thoughts in our minds 24/7. There's a thing we call our subconscious mind.
Yep.
Our brains are over 2,000 years old, this brain that we have, right? And I just became so obsessed with figuring out how is it that one person is so successful while another person struggles. And it's never about how much money they have, what background they come from, education they have. It's all boils down to the foundation is your mindset. If you think about any achiever that's ever, any person that maybe you look up to that has achieved anything, it all starts on, did they have the right mindset? Did they bring their mindset to the table? And people think that that's a little corny to say, but it's in reality, it's all about that. You can go to the best seminar the money can buy. You can go to the best school. You can find any guru in whatever field that you want to get into, and they can give you a whole roadmap on here's how you're going to be successful if you just follow this roadmap to success. But at the end of the day, if you don't feel in your mind, if something's blocking you from feeling like you're capable and that you deserve success, oftentimes, one of the things I teach is change your mindset, change your life. It's something, that webinar that I've done multiple times, and it's been amazing to just bring awareness. Sometimes it sounds so simplistic, but the awareness is the first factor of understanding, okay, is there something in my journey? Is there something that potentially is holding me back? And oftentimes people look at me like deer in headlights, like, what do you mean holding me back? Like I'm doing this. I said, well, if you don't feel fulfilled, if you feel like you want more, who am I to tell you that you can go bigger in your business or that you can have that career that you dream of? It's up to you. The desires that you have, the desires in your heart don't lie, right? That's your calling. And for you to snooze it because you think I'm not ready for that, or I'm not good enough for this yet. It's all based on false beliefs. And these beliefs that we've cultivated throughout our entire life, right, happened since we were little kids, potentially with our grandparents, our parents, maybe some teachers, right, all molding us to believe certain things about ourselves. If you think about like a 2-year-old, I don't know if anyone listening is a parent, most 2-year-olds will run inside a pool in the deep end because they have no fear. We're not born with fear, right? We're not born with fear, but at the same time, we are part of our brains, and part of how we're built is to always look for things that might hurt us. Look for what could go wrong. And this affects us in so many ways. You need it, that fight or flight, you need that because you want to make sure that you're staying safe, that you see a car about to cut you off in the road. You need that fight or flight mentality, of course. But when we're going after a goal, to achieve something, that's always on that radar. And if you said, Chris, you want to go after this, Chris, your subconscious is going to have your antennas up. You're like, oh, wait a second, Chris. Wait a second. Are you sure you want to do this? Right? All the things that could go wrong. That's huge. That's one of the things I talk about is what I'm so obsessed with is seeing people live mediocre lives, and that they don't have to be mediocre. You don't have to settle, because at the end of the day, life is so short. You get one life to live, right?
Right.
If I tell people, 5 years old, do you want to look back at all the things that you regretted? Or do you know all the thing? Are you going to be worried at 95 years old what that person thinks of you and what everybody else thinks of you? You're too busy on other people's opinions of you. I was one of them. Once upon a time, I cared so much what people thought of me. Like, who does she think she is? Talking about this whole thing, and everything I talk about is all about my own experience for the most part. And what have I've experienced a time and place. Once upon a time, years ago, I used to be a single mom, had major success and major failure. I was in real estate. And I was so obsessed with my own behavior. Like, wait a second, what is it? What's that thing that I do that makes me so successful? And what's that thing that makes me just plummet? And it all is on your mindset, is the things and the fears and the thoughts that we have that become real in reality. And people might think this is like some voodoo, witchcraft thing. It's not. Like, we're creatures of manifestation, where it's happening right now, right? As we speak, somehow life just attracted ourselves to each other to be here today, but nothing's an accident. And I think it's just about paying attention of what are some of the things that is holding you back from taking that leap of faith of making things happen.
Yeah. Once you get into this space, I mean, a lot of great stuff there. Once you get into this space, I know we're talking about like growth mindset and anything's possible. That's the only way that I can see things now. But I actually have a perfect example. I was on Instagram the other day. I saw someone posted something about we need to stop glamorizing overworking. There's more to life than just putting in 80-hour weeks or whatever. And then one person in the comment mentioned, so I totally agreed with that. I was like, yeah, I'm all about work smart instead of just working hard. You got to do a little bit of both. But if you're working hard at the wrong stuff, you know what I'm talking about here. But one of the comments said it was a total victim mindset mentality. The guy was like, this sounds all great, but some of us have to work and, we can't afford to change our lives because we've got families to feed and stuff like that. And it had like 150 comments. And I commented and I was like, hey, tough love here, but this is total victim mentality. You can change your life. You're not stuck where you are. I'm just thinking of myself from 2 years ago where I had no idea what I was doing to now being able to like make 25K in a week or something in real estate. You can change your life. Anyone can. And Absolutely. He still replied saying something along the lines of like, yeah, well, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to my shift. And he's like a truck driver, like a semi-truck driver. Talking about how important it is and we need people in those jobs to do those things to get our stuff. Yeah. But it was just, he was already shutting himself off from success because he wanted to cling to that. Well, no, I can't have it better because my job's important and I have to go to work. Right. So
self-sabotage, man, self-sabotage.
I'm like, dude, you're not even giving yourself a chance.
Exactly. But we live in such a world where it's like, oh, this is intangible. Just like faith. I mean, not to bring religion into this, but your faith, is huge. It doesn't matter who you pray to, if you believe in a higher self or the stars or the moon, whoever, that there's something bigger than ourselves, right?
Right.
But we are so used to sometimes, right, living in such a lack of space of just, I remember even people I've coached and I've seen myself where someone's afraid to say what they want, so they actually reject it. And say, well, that's good for you, but I'm over here in this reality. You're in this reality and you're keeping it alive, but you have a choice, you have a decision, and you can get out of that anytime that you want. It all starts with the decisions that you're making, because one decision leads you to all these places. And people think, well, I've never been able to do it before, or I'm not worthy because of all the mistakes I've made and all the things that I've done. But in reality, you can't live behind, looking at the rearview mirror, all the things, what you didn't do, should have, could have, would have, is going to just constantly defeat you. What matters is that today's a freaking new day. Today's a new day. God has blessed you with, you have air in your lungs. You can make a new choice. You can knock on a new door. You can find a resource, right? When there's a will, there's a way. And I think that's what is so crazy to me, is when I love when people want change. It's just like that, I would hate to say it, but an alcoholic, you can't change an alcoholic. The alcoholic has to show up and say, I'm here, I'm ready, I want it. And you want it, you're going to make things happen. There's so much information out there of wisdom to help you get to that, wherever it is that you want to get to. But self-sabotage is definitely real.
Yeah.
And that's, it is sad when you tell me about those comments that,
it's crazy.
People just want to throw daggers at the people making things happen because they don't feel that they can
worthy.
have that and they can achieve that. But you absolutely can. And it starts with your mindset. And people think, oh, with your mindset, it's just like this thing. And it's deeper than positive thinking. It's not just, oh, I'm going to think positive. I mean, if you think about it, we live over, 89% of our time, we live in our subconscious mind. So when people actually, like, awareness, Chris, it's all back to like just being aware that you're going to have these thoughts of doubt. You're going to have these thoughts of like, wait a second, wait, you wanted to stop smoking. Today you didn't smoke. Like, what's going on? Get back to like that comfort zone, because that's what they're used to. And when you have that awareness that this is going to happen, and if people think sometimes like, well, I'm going to do all the right things, but in your journey, if you only knew right now that in your journey, you're going to feel doubt, you might want to quit. You may not freaking feel like making those phone calls. You may not feel like doing that thing you have to do. It's never like you're going to feel, people think, how do you stay motivated? How do you get motivated to make that happen? Like, you got to make a decision.
You got to make it happen.
Right. Make it happen. Be committed. You know, even when I'm not big with the gym and I started working out, I actually see a trainer now for a few days a week, and I've been doing it for a while. And I'll be honest, like, I live in Connecticut. It's freaking 10 degrees outside in the winter. And I'm like, I'm from San Diego. I'm not used to this. It's still I've been here for 12 years. You'd think I'd be used to it. But it's all about the decisions in my life. And I started to notice, wow, when you follow through, it's not that big thing you did yesterday. It's those little things you do, every day. Every day. Right. It doesn't have to be this huge mountain. And people sometimes get so caught up not starting. I was one of them. Don't start or not starting because they think that they need to have everything figured out. And that's not the case. As a matter of fact, it's been proven with research that if you take the biggest step you're going to take is your first step. At anything you do, whether it's losing weight, the first step to put yourself out there. If you're single, you want to meet your significant other. It's always that first step that's the hardest. And then research shows that you're more likely to take that second step. And then the third and the fourth, you get momentum.
That's so true. And it's just one little step at a time. A lot of us, I just actually talked to someone right before you, and he said the same thing on our podcast, is that they get analysis paralysis. They're looking at the big picture. And when you're looking from the 30,000 foot view of all the things that you have to do to achieve that goal that you want, it's almost too scary to even start. You're like, gosh, we start to self-sabotage. Oh, I can't do that. I've never done that before. That person is more successful than me or has connections. I don't have that. So I'm not even going to take the first step. Well, if you don't take the first step, you're not going to take a second step or a third step. So the first step is the hardest, the most important. But it doesn't even have to be a big step. Just make a decision and then move forward.
100%. Oftentimes when you think about it, all the things, what you want to get, let me tell you, the biggest thing that will absolutely allow your dreams and your goals to just plummet is comparing yourself to other people. Comparing yourself, oh, well, that person's successful and this person is look what they're doing. I can never do that, or look where I'm at. You didn't see all their sweat and tears. You didn't see all their, the tough times that they've had. I mean, I don't care if you Oprah, Michael Jordan, or anyone. I don't know. I'm just naming a few people here, but, or what Elon Musk. I mean, heck, all of them, every single person, small or big, maybe your neighbor. Maybe it doesn't have to be somebody famous. Maybe it's just your neighbor that's on top of his or her game. And you're like, God, how do I do that? Success is out there. I remember anything I want to do, I'm like, how is he doing that?
Right.
And what did he need to do to get there? What are the dots that he connected or she connected? And you'll find clues along the way that you have to just mimic and emulate and make it your own too. Of course, you're not going to copy everybody, but there's things out there that you can do the same thing.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
There's a quote I heard from Dr. Joe Dispenza, I believe. I don't know if he made it up, but I think I read it in one of his books. It said something along the lines of, in today's day and age, like ignorance is a choice or something, because there's so much information. It said something like that. You can learn anything you want to learn. You just need to make a decision and actually start researching, applying, find mentors. I mean, whether it's real estate or sales or getting better at public speaking or starting a podcast,
right?
Almost everything's been like done before, right? I guess we haven't gone to Mars yet. We haven't put any people on Mars, but it's going to happen.
We'll get there first.
Exactly. There's been like people to the moon a million times, all the billionaires going into space and whatnot. So I think that was really cool. If you saw the Richard Branson video where he was saying like, hey, all you kids out there, anything's possible. Like that kind of gave me goosebumps, because he's just there like in space saying like, you ever look up at the moon and kind of dream you can go there, something like that. And then
that's cool. I think they were saying that he's
so many things
since he was like a little kid. I was like, wow, I didn't know that.
Have you read any of his books? I think I read.
I actually have not. I need to. I love reading books. I love any. Yeah, I haven't, but I will.
I read one of them, and that guy's done so many things, like flying in a hot air balloon, breaking records across the world. And it really makes you wonder, am I doing enough with my life? My bucket list is nowhere near someone like that. But at the same time, the message is to take action.
Exactly. And you know what, Chris, even just what you're doing with the podcast, I mean, you're inspiring even just one person, I don't care if it's one
Makes
person
a
a
huge
month, one
difference.
person a week, one person a day, there's always someone that has to hear it. You know, how many times have you gone to a seminar or a conference or something and you heard somebody say something you've heard before, but the way that they said it, their conviction maybe, or their, right? All of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I've heard this before, but man, the way that this person said it, it just kind of made better sense. It's a time and a place. And that's one thing I would say to anyone listening is that when you're open to receive, you're going to receive.
Yes.
Right? When you're open to receive, it's like that fixed versus a growth mindset. A growth mindset, like what you were saying, Richard Brand, whatever you were saying earlier, is that, you know, I'm going to learn. I can find that skill set. Maybe you're not as good as this, but do you want to get better? And do you need to get better at that to achieve the goal that you want? There's all these outsourcing places too. Like oftentimes people think that they have to do it all themselves, but they don't have to.
Right.
Now, if you want to, and you know that you absolutely need to acquire maybe some knowledge or whatever, there's a lot of places you can go to find information, right? There's places you can learn. And that's a growth mindset. A fixed mindset says, you know what? It's self-sabotage. Like, well, this isn't me. I've never been athletic, or I've never been good with customers. I can't have a customer facing position, or I've never been good in sales, you know? And it's an identity. Anytime you say I am or I am not, that's an identity crisis, in my opinion. If it's stopping you, like if it's not stopping you, and you're like, hey, I'm living my life, I'm happy, I'm fulfilled, beautiful. Maybe you should go on YouTube and start talking about well, right? Did you just were you born this way? Did you never, right? But if you want more and you are tired of living mediocre, you're tired, you know, life is too short. Life is too darn short. And you know, how you make things happen really freaking matters. And bringing that intention to the game is one of the things that I teach a lot, is that today is a new day. If you just set your intention, it might sound super corny, but I'm telling you right now, Chris, when I don't do that, my day goes crazy. And then life will do whatever with you, because you're just shooting from the hip. And like rolling the dice. Okay, let's see what today brings. And maybe you perform at a higher level, so you do okay. But why settle for okay?
Right.
And, you know, I feel like sometimes people don't often realize the power that you actually have right now to say today, and decide up front, today is going to be a success, whatever that looks like, whatever success it is. Maybe it's just getting by your day because you have a bunch of stuff to do, or you're a working mom and you have, you know, kids and sports and activities. I don't know. What does that look like for you? If you decide up front when you get up in the morning what today looks like, well, it looks like I'm having dinner, feeling so productive, and feeling like I could breathe throughout my day, not getting too crazy, right? I did guided meditation for someone last week at this event that I did. And I got a feedback from her the next day saying that she would have never imagined that the rest of her day was going to be what it was. And she always gets stressed out and all these things that she had to do, and she always has done, and she's never done it without stress. And anyways, it's because you have to center yourself and bring intention to the game. You know, if you want to say, I remember having like meetings back to back. And I said, you know, today I'm going to get a lot done and I'm going to feel so accomplished to where it doesn't stress me out. Back to what you were saying before, personally and professionally, I think people say, oh, well, work-life balance, but in reality, I can't do one without the other. I'm always like this, intertwining them. And the reason I do that, I did an ultimate reset last month. And I talk about what is it that you want to achieve personally and professionally, because I can't teach professionally. I feel like it's not just what you want in life, business. It could be a stay-at-home mom. It has to work both ways. I'm sure you might agree with me, Chris, where whatever you're doing in business, right? You can be going crazy. I've met a billionaire before, like personally met a billionaire in San Diego. And like, anyway, long story with that one. Maybe another later time for another podcast, but he wasn't fulfilled. Right. And you think that money is, sure, it could buy you things and it could do all this stuff. Sure. Material things, but that's only that's not going to have longevity of real true fulfillment. You got to have both. And so when I've met somebody that is rich, and even millionaires, you know, not just a billionaire, and the ones that actually, there's billionaires that are truly fulfilled and that are happy. But you got to take care of both, because if you're going hard in your business, but you're neglecting your family, you're neglecting the people that matter, and at the end of the day, neglecting yourself, which you are your best asset.
You are.
And how are you taking care of you?
Yeah. I always think of like the three pillars, and I know the three niches that are most profitable are health, wealth, and relationships. Because that's like the core stuff. You want to be in good shape. You got to take care of your body. Wealth is important. Of course, you can't you can't really be happy if you can't even put food on the table. You need at least, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the basics. Maybe $1 billion is a little, you don't need it to be happy, but you got to have a little bit for shelter, safety, those types of things. And then relationships, right? Maybe the billionaire was unhappily divorced and like his kids hate him. That's not a way to live either, right? So health, wealth, and relationships. It's very important for us to put a good emphasis on all of those three things.
I absolutely love that, because if you're not healthy, well, you're not going to be able to do anything in your business.
Exactly.
Really, it's like, how do you thrive? People often ask me, like, I have 4 kids. I have a lot of kids, 2 older kids, and then now 2 little guys, 5 and 7. And people say, how do you do that? Like, you work, you do this, you have obviously different businesses really that I'm in charge of. But I think it's one breath at a time. And it all starts, I know it sounds crazy.
One breath at a time.
My phone says breathe. Oh gosh.
My Apple Watch reminds me all the time, and I'm like, I actually have been taking shallow breaths. This is a great reminder.
It's so funny. I just got my Apple Watch on Sunday and I'm obsessed. I know. I'm like a dinosaur with technology, and I got this wicked late.
It's awesome. Yeah.
No, it's true though. A breath at a time, but not just that. I mean, back to like the whole mindset is having a vision and expectations of yourself. What's acceptable to you? What's not acceptable to you? Do you know, Chris, I was doing everything like an octopus, had my finger on everything, work, people, employees, kids, whatever I was doing. Maybe I had a speaking engagement. I love what I do. I can speak all day about things that I'm passionate about. However, there is a thing that I can get burnt out. There's days that I'm like, gosh darn it, I'm going to speak for 2 hours. I don't want to do this today.
Yep.
And you got to get yourself in the right mindset. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not, right? People think, oh, be positive 24/7, 365. I'm sorry, that doesn't exist. You're not human. You're not human.
You're a robot at that point.
Right. You're like a robot at that point. But your vision is so key to really zoom in as clear as possible. Not just like, well, I want to be out of debt. Well, what does that look like? I want to have my dream job. I want to attract my soulmate. I want to build my real estate portfolio. What does that freaking look like? And if you can't describe it like so compelling, then where is your mind? So let me tell you something. There's a thing in our minds called reticular activating system. And it basically says anything that you're focusing on, I have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're constantly focusing on, oh, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose my job. Well, guess what? You're going to lose your job. But if you it's a target. It's like that target. You got to give your mind a target and feed that subconscious mind a target of what it is you're after. So when I talk about raising your standards, raising those expectations of yourself of what it is that you're going to say yes to, what are the things that you're going to say no to, even if it's the people that you love or love you may want you to play it safe, doesn't mean they're not right, because they're fearful, they had bad experiences potentially, or they feel that you're not ready. I've had to go through all of that, and at the end of the day, what matters is that no one has to approve of your dreams but you. Nobody.
So true. And that's the toughest part. I heard that on a podcast recently. Someone was talking about, friends and family. And the hardest part for me is that a lot of them do have your best interest in mind, but they're cautious and scared and nervous. And maybe they think you're doing something that's too risky and it's not worth it. But all your entrepreneurial friends and business owner friends, they took those risks to get to where they are. So you kind of are conflicting, because part of you is like, gosh, my parents know everything. They've always been there for me. They've always known the answers. And at a certain point, you're almost like, I love my parents. They mean well, but they're giving me advice that I need to kind of compartmentalize and push to the side, because it's going to limit my growth and it's going to hold me back and prevent me from maybe playing at the fullest possible, speed.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely true. But having your intentions of what it is you want out of life, even just your darn day, is so important, right? Like, what do I want? I need to make the most of this. I remember having back when I used to be in real estate. So I sold real estate for 13 years and I still have my license, but I only focus on our stuff personally and even for the business. Because no one's going to negotiate better than me, Chris. I've been in sales my entire life. I can, I even teach on sales, but I remember having my nanny would come over and watch my son when he was like a year old. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have 3 hours before she leaves. And how can I do 5 hours of work in 3, And instead of stressing out, I said, that's my intention. My intention is that the next 3 hours are going to be amazing, meaning everything is going to work out the way that it's supposed to. And it sounds super corny, like, oh, just because you said that, Diana, all of a sudden, I'm telling you, try it. It might be funny. You could laugh at me, but just do it. And I started to play with it, Chris, and I'm like, wait, what is this all about? Really? Like, we can actually control, like, what? You may not control the outside world and the pandemic and the COVID and the Delta and all this crap that is scary, just obviously when you think about it, but you can control how you're going to show up for yourself, what you're going to choose to focus on and what you're not. When people say, I feel anxious, I feel nervous, I'm like, well, what are you focusing on? And that's usually the first thing I hear.
They're focusing on all the stuff that they can't control. Yeah.
Right. Like, you can choose to be fearful, and we all have these feelings. We all get aggravated. We all get frustrated. I sure as heck do. I lose my SHIT sometimes. You can't stay there. You can't stay there, because that's when you self-sabotage. That's when you start attracting all the wrong things in your life.
Right. You know? That's so true. And I've talked about this before. It's almost like when you're negative, and I've had this before back, probably in college before I read books on growth mindset and learned about the reticular activating system. You stub your toe on the table, and then like you burn yourself in the shower, and then you get in a fight with your significant other, and then like someone messes up your order. You're just like, how is everything going badly? Because you're in that negative mind frame versus what you said, it's going to go perfectly. Everything's going to go well. It's almost like not lying to yourself, but subconsciously you're telling your subconscious, it's going to go well. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about all those things that you can't control. Focus on what you can. And then boom, lo and behold, those 3 hours are amazing and everything gets done.
It's shocking sometimes. Like, wait, what? But we are a vibration. I mean, look at quantum physics, right? It doesn't lie. We are a vibration. And I always think of it like a magnet. And I've heard this before. So cool. I don't remember when, probably years ago, but I always think about that. And I teach them, like, you're a vibration. Be careful. Remember that saying, be careful what you wish for. So or true. Even self-sabotage, like, oh, it never fails.
Oh, this always happens to me, right? People who say those little victim things.
I'm like, wait, what?
Be careful. Yeah.
And my husband tells me all the time till this day, it's so silly to even mention, but it's true. It doesn't matter if it's small or huge. Works the same way. It's the same ingredients. I always get the front, like VIP parking anywhere I go. I'm telling you this right now. Awesome. This is a true story.
I need to start attracting this.
Yeah, for years. And my husband's like I meet him for lunch or something. Of course, I'm not surprised. And then he'll tell the kids, oh, mommy's with us. That's why we have front parking. I'm like, it just happens.
Right.
And I don't think I know some people might say that's so corny. What are you talking about?
Something so simple and random, but still it works.
There's no coincidence. It's just what you're putting out there. Now, you're going to say, I'm not going to get coronavirus. I'm not going to get coronavirus and drive yourself crazy. No. But if you focus on healthy, I remember saying back when this happened, healthy summer, healthy fall, healthy winter, healthy fall, healthy winter.
One breath at a time. Yeah.
One breath at a time. Exactly. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get coronavirus. God forbid. Knock on wood. I've been good. You know what? If I'm going to increase my chances to be more peaceful of this crazy pandemic that we were in, like, right? Why not? Why not? Yeah. It's actually been proven that when you practice being more optimistic versus pessimistic, people have become healthier. They are less stressed, right? When you see all the research and the benefits, like, why would you not live in this area over here? Exactly.
And there's a lot of good stuff for those listening. Like, I think Becoming Supernatural, that one from Dr. Joe Dispenza was very helpful, because I guess I've always got C's in science and stuff, biology and all these chemistry and all those difficult classes, but I've heard enough on podcasts and YouTube and documentaries that, you talked about quantum physics and also healing yourself and the power of positive mindset. And whenever we live in a state of fear, if we're constantly watching the news and worrying about all the things that are going on, and God knows how many places, like, oh my gosh, a terrorist attack over here, pandemic over here, and a gunshot 3 streets down, you're going to freak out, and your immune system is weakened. You're more likely to get sick and have poor health if you're constantly focused on fear than if you're focused on, getting some sunlight, getting your exercise, meditating, and just being at peace. And so I've been focusing on that too. And I did survive COVID. I think I had it earlier this year in January. But I constantly meditated and I ate healthy. I got enough sleep, and it was pretty mild. I mean, I know it's different for everyone. And of course, we could get hit by a bus tomorrow for all we know, knock on wood again. So I'm always like, live each day like it's your last, and just be grateful, because why worry about the things that we can't control? We can try to control everything. We like to do that as entrepreneurs, but we can't at the end of the day. Right. So just focus on what you can control.
100%. And I love what you mentioned, gratitude. I'm really big
Yeah,
on
that's
talking
huge.
about, you can't talk enough about being grateful and just finding the gratitude, even in the storm. One of the things that I always think about is when you're in the storm, one of the things I've studied, I've even seen for myself, anyone that's gone through some tough times, obstacles, whether it's health, whether it's your business, finances, you name it, it's when you don't see light at the end of the tunnel. How can you find the gratitude in today so that, right, you need something to grasp from, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, what else is going to come your way? And so practicing gratitude is amazing. If you, I've been there as a mom, maybe I was worried about something or myself,
Right.
And you cannot, it's almost impossible to feel gratitude in that moment and fearful at the same time.
That's so true. And a lot of us take things for granted too, right? I mean, it's so easy just to be like, oh, I don't have this, or you look at the billionaire and you feel like a failure. You don't have anything compared to that person. But when you start looking around, it's like, oh, I'm grateful for my cat over there, just sleeping on the little bag. So cute. Grateful for this fan and a roof over my head and air conditioning. Gosh, imagine we're living better now than people did 500 years ago when they had like no AC, kings and queens,
right?
We're living better than they were, which is pretty amazing, right?
I mean, God forbid if it takes us 22 seconds to hit send on our message, on a text message, we're like, oh my God.
Or it fails to send and I have to hit try again. First world problems for sure.
We all want to be so instantly gratified. But I love meditation that you mentioned. Meditation is huge.
Exactly.
We have to center ourselves because when we do, we create.
Yeah, I need to do more of the research on the quantum physics side, because that really is so cool to hear, because a lot of times we think it's woo woo, but this is actual literal particles and atoms and everything's energy and vibration.
Everything's energy and vibration. It's unbelievable when you think about what we can do with just that alone.
So cool.
We have to tap into our higher self of where we came from. You can move mountains. I mean, not to be creepy about your mind. I'm not saying move mountains your mind, but impossible is only impossible if you feel it's impossible. The only person ever in this whole universe, regardless of what you've been taught, regardless of what you've been told, that could ever get in your way from your dreams, whatever you can, if you can dream, however big, you can make it happen. And anyone that's going to get in your way is going to be you. And that's it.
Yeah. It's just you versus you. And we're usually our biggest enemy because we're stopping ourselves with self-sabotage and thinking small and playing small and being fearful, right? So all the things we talked about today, gratitude, not being afraid of things that you can't control, surrounding yourself with positive thoughts and vibrations and energy. Those are the things that are going to get us to where we want to go, as opposed to worrying about all these other things and thinking that we're not good enough or we're not worthy, or like that truck driver comment who's like, no, some of us are never going to do that because we have jobs to do. I have to go to work. I'm like, okay, well, I changed my life in the last year. You could too, but if you don't want to, then you can't change it for them. You can't want it more than they want it for themselves.
And even just adding what you summarized it, but just being intentional. Try it for 10 days, every day. What's your intention for today? Keep it here. People think, oh, I want to be this big old audacious goal for 6 months or a year or 5 years from now. Start small, just today. What's your intention for today? Oh, well, I took the day off to hang out with my kids. Okay, so what's your intention? To be present.
Yeah.
And make this a great memory with your children. Or I have a laundry to do. I have to go to the grocery store. Okay, so what's your intention? To finish, to complete your laundry, or to just keep it in the dryer all day, but you got the groceries done, right? I mean, it sounds funny, but my gosh, I'm telling you, Chris, when I do this, I'm like, this is it. This is the recipe to how we're going to make things happen. Of course, on top of a lot of other stuff, obviously, we're going to summarize it all here in this podcast, but I think we talked about a lot of things that I practice, and when I don't do it, the fear comes in, the doubt comes in, the frustration, right? And it's just, how do we stay bulletproof to rejection when that thing comes? It's just being aware that when you have trouble, when you have challenges, you got to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You have to. Otherwise, you're going to crumble.
100%. And awareness and intention, those are so powerful, because when you have that, I mean, you can be present with your kids. If you didn't have that intention, you'd probably feel guilty, like, gosh, I haven't done the laundry, I haven't gotten groceries. You're thinking of all the other things. But if you know that your intention is to be present with your kids, now you're like, okay, the laundry and the groceries aren't that important today. That's tomorrow's intention.
100%. And I think even just for anyone, whether you're a father, dad, working mom, or maybe you're single, regardless, if you're doing a lot, we get so caught up on being perfect and getting it all. It's okay to not be perfect. Actually, it's okay to not be okay. I
Yeah.
often say to people, take your time to not be okay and be okay, accepting the fact that, okay, what can I do to make this different? What can I do to alleviate some of this? I remember being like, I wasn't able to ask for help back, in 2000. I'm going to date myself here, but when my son was born, I hit the ground running, 5 years ago, in December 1st of 2015, when he was barely 3 months old. He would have been 3 months old, December 6th. And I hit the ground running. I never asked for help, and I wanted to do everything and just be there for everything, saying yes to everyone and being a people pleaser and everything pleaser, a customer pleaser. And it just doesn't serve you. It didn't serve me. It almost costed me, my mental health and my physical health. And
yeah.
Anyway, story for a later time, but regardless, you have to stop and be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, hey, I'll watch your kids if you watch mine the next week.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. But that you're not alone and there's help out there, even online.
That's helpful to know. Cause I think I always default to that when someone's like, how's it going? I always just say good. Cause like, you don't, if it's not good, you don't really want to go into it all the time. But I think one time I actually did say that. Well, I was like, good. And then 2 seconds later, I was like, actually, it's like not going that great. This happened. I'm not having the best day, but you helped make it better or something like that. So it's okay to not be okay. And to talk about that's definitely helpful. For those listening, find someone who you can talk to, sometimes an accountability partner, a friend, a therapist or something could be helpful to just get your emotions out so that you're not bugging your significant other. Like maybe they love you, they want to help you, but they're not really used to listening to you venting for 30 minutes. So you can like pay somebody to do that,
Exactly. No, it's true. Especially with my husband. He's like solution mode.
Yeah. Trying to solve all the problems.
Can I do that? I don't need the solutions right now.
I've learned that too. I've learned like, look, a lot of guys I think tend to have that, we're very solution oriented. And I don't want to just stereotype or generalize, but that's how I am. And if I hear complaining or problems, I always go to giving solutions and answers because I'm like, oh, this is logical. You just do this, this, and that, and then it's done. But I've learned now, sometimes people just want to vent and you're just like, I know. Like you're just there to support them. Let it all out.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That is such an old book. But I'm kind of the same way. So my husband and I are like super business minds, growth mentality of the business and super hands-on with our children too. But he tells me something and I'm like solution mode. I'm not, and you're right, not to genderize this, but it's true. I think
we tend to do that.
That men tend to do that. And I don't know if maybe.
Or business people in general. We solve problems, entrepreneurs, right?
We solve problems. And so I'm always like solving problems, trying to solve problems. And I realize like sometimes it could be on the other side. Like he just wants to
That's true. That's true. Well, I guess the way that I look at it too is like we can always give better advice when it's not our problems, right? When you're emotional about it and you're freaking out about something, you can't think really super logically all the time. Not you, but like us. We're freaking out. We're kind of in panic mode. We're having anxiety, but you're able to give that advice to other people when they're freaking out and you're like, oh, this is easy. A, B, C, then you're done. But we forget that when we're in that mode, we forget how it feels and that, okay, common sense kind of goes out the window and you're freaking out about everything and everything's just crashing down on you. And so sometimes it just helps to be present, let them know that you're there for them, whoever this is, relationships or business partners. And maybe sometimes it just takes time, right? You can sit in it for a little bit and then kind of time heals all wounds and issues, as the saying goes.
Sometimes you're just clouded because you're in it.
You're focused on too many things at once.
Right. And it's okay to sometimes to stop and give yourself a timeout. I know that sounds super weird, but I always say, just give yourself a timeout. Don't try to try to push through. Push through, that's great. But if at what cost? It could affect you. So take your time. And sometimes when you take a step back, you're able to see it a little differently, a different perspective. Even just a small little shift, you're like, holy cow.
True.
You stop and you just reflect a little bit and sometimes meditate on it. One thing I will say, no matter what you're doing, even during this podcast, stopping and just taking a breath. If you're feeling anxious, one thing I will say to anyone listening, if you're ever feeling anxious, I want you to pay attention to your breathing.
It's usually shallow.
Right. Or you're thinking and you're so bright or you're talking too much, right? It doesn't matter. I'm excited. I'm passionate. I'm on stage. Like when I did my event last month, I had to stop and breathe because you get so worked up. That's a good excitement, sure. But especially if you're feeling anxious or fearful or doubtful or just anxiety, that's what cultivates anxiety is your breathing. You're not breathing. You're not breathing the way you need to breathe. And so stopping to just take a breath. And I know people have, the app, I just got this watch and I saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's actually
so good.
That's so cool. But even just doing it throughout your day when you're driving, just taking an absolute deep breath in the shower, I'm telling you, it solves back pain. Like there's so much in your body from stress. It affects your back, your organs, all of it. You're all connected, mind, body, and soul, right? Like you're connected. You might say, oh, well, I didn't feel that stressed out, but you are, and you were thinking, and it affects your body.
That's so true. It's funny because my dog does this all the time. Like she'll be just randomly quiet and then she'll take a big deep breath, like we could just hear this big old sigh. Just letting out all the stress from not getting to play as much as she wants to probably. But it's so funny because you're right. Breathing is something that, it's like the most basic form of life, right? Like a little baby bird, it's breathing. You see its chest rising and falling. And breath, we take it for granted. That's another thing that we're like, oh, we can just breathe and our heart just beats. But we forget how important it is to actually breathe correctly and take deep breaths and not take those shallow breaths, like the fight or flight where we're freaking out and we're not really getting the full oxygen in our body. Again, extremely important. So thank you for highlighting that. Just pausing and breathing. Sounds basic, but it's important.
Not just once a day, like as many times.
Constantly.
As you remember, you can be in a meeting, you can be on a Zoom and someone's talking. Like I can't tell you how many times I've made a considered effort to just breathe while you're talking, Chris. Because it just allows you to just feel more centered. And even just talking, I have all these things in my mind that I want to spit out, but that wouldn't be good. Even as a speaker, I've learned, and I'm still learning to really hone that in more. And just breathing. And even when you're eating, I learned recently just having acid reflux. I've never experienced it in my life ever. And I just started experiencing it this year, and thank God I have it under control. But knowing and learning, like, oh my gosh, you have to do like breathing right before you eat.
Wow.
And another thing I learned just really quickly is, I live a high paced life, with the business and
go.
And the kids and activities, my gosh, all the sports that they're in. And yes, like you said, go, that you're just like, I got to eat. Even if you're eating healthy, it doesn't have to be a hot dog. It could be a salad, but you got to stop. And I remember having these lunch meetings, sometimes with like stressful meetings. And I thought it was fine. Like, we're just going to push through. We're problem solving. We're going to make this happen. And I stopped all of my meetings that I knew were going to be a little intense, not at lunch. My lunchtime is my time to just breathe. I have 5 minutes to eat. But that's important. So breathing, I'm telling you, I'm emphasizing a little bit much here. I didn't plan on this, but I can't tell you how many things it's going to solve. It could even solve headaches, whatever pain you're having, just breathe. Yeah. Breathe. Anytime you remember, I don't care if it's once an hour, once every 10 minutes, just breathe. It doesn't have to affect your life. You can keep doing what you're doing. Take deep breaths,
Just being present. That going back to the presence, and we don't always have to be go, because I'm kind of like that too. While I do live a pretty relaxed life, like I don't have any children, I'm not super stressed. I still like to do things efficiently. And one of those things too is I eat really quickly. And it was kind of funny because kind of funny, kind of not funny, but I went to a real estate event in Oregon in May, and we were at a dinner, and there's a bunch of entrepreneurs and real estate people. And I was a little impatient. I didn't want to cut this piece of steak again because I was like, the knife wasn't that sharp. And literally, like, I was choking at dinner. Like, I didn't cut it small enough, and it literally wasn't coming out or going down. And I tried to drink water, and I was like, trying to tell people that I was choking, but I had just met them like a day before, so they didn't know if I was joking or not. And luckily it ended up coming out, but that was like a freaky moment for like 10 seconds where I was like, whoa, like I legitimately couldn't breathe and I was choking. And that reminded me, Chris, be more present, chew your food.
Absolutely.
The basic stuff that we take for granted, like you got to chew your food all the way. I was like, now I understand why people say that.
Yes, absolutely. And I live a busy life, but in that busy life, there's a lot. But is it
that busy? Right. Like, can you not eat?
Yeah, no, there's a lot in my calendar for me. Just have that calm, even if it's 15 minutes a day or 3 times, whatever. You have to, because
block it out for yourself, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to invest in yourself, invest in your mental health, because without that, nothing else matters. You won't get that thing done, that meeting, all the stress and the pressure and the time. none of it matters if you can't be whole. You got to be whole first.
And you could tell people you're in an appointment. I do this all the time. I'm like, hey, so I actually have an appointment until 11, but I can call you right after that. And my appointment might be a 90-minute massage. They don't have to know that.
You don't have to know that. Exactly. No, it's true. I mix it, business and personal, whether it's
Same here.
To whatever, my appointments, acupuncture, meditation, or whatever it is I'm doing. Like you said, a massage, you got to build it in. People want to separate business and personal, but in reality, it becomes a tennis match, and that actually causes more stress. I always say, put a to-do list. I don't care if it's pick up dog food, make that meeting, go to the bank, or, pick up your cleaners. And then I look at my to-do list and then I circle what has to, hell or high water, happen. Otherwise, it won't move the needle for me. Yep. Maybe I'm going to present tomorrow and I gotta pick up my attire at the cleaners. Well, that's going to be circled. Or maybe, you know what? I got nothing. I can pick it up on Monday.
Yeah.
It's just all right. You do a to-do list and just know up front that you're not going to get it all done.
That's so powerful.
I'll tell you how, it relieves just that stress. And then I say, can my husband pick this up? Can my neighbor? Can my
delegate?
Right, delegate. And you can't always delegate. Maybe you don't have anybody, that's fine, but at least you can circle the things that are a must. Everything else is just the added bonus. So kudos to you.
And does it have to get all done today? Usually not. As long as you get it out of your head and on paper or in Asana or wherever you do it, a sticky note on your desktop, at least get it out. And now you don't feel stressed because you're not going to forget it. But it doesn't necessarily have to happen today. It could be like you said, oh, I don't have anything tomorrow. I could pick up laundry on Monday. There you go. You saved yourself 30 minutes or 20 minutes of a round trip that could be stressful if you already have a lot on your plate. So many great tips that we talked about. Anything else that you think that our audience should run with today? Any takeaways that you'd love for them to really digest?
Just hit play this podcast over and over until you absolutely learn all the things. Until you got it
down.
No, the other thing I would say is pay attention to your language patterns that you're talking to yourself. If you're saying, this will never change, this is always, I don't have time, all of that matters big time for your growth, for your outcome. All the results that you're receiving right now is a pure reflection of you. And it's hard for people to swallow, but it is. What is it that you are doing that you shouldn't be doing? What is it that you're not doing that you should be doing, right?
Right.
Trying to be everything for everyone is going to be very short-lived, and you're going to suffer. And stop being a people pleaser. If you're doing all these things for everyone else, you matter first, and you need to be your priority first, and then the rest. It's almost like my husband told me, because I'm always doing everything for the kids. They eat first, and then mommy eats. And he reminded me on the airplane, you got to put the mask on yourself first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't help anybody else.
Right.
I'm like, but I can eat later. My babies eat now when they were little. You just shove food in their mouth. But it's so true. So put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Such great advice. Well, Diana, this has been an awesome conversation. I took a bunch of notes, so if I was looking down, it was because I was taking notes. But where can our audience go to connect with you, to learn more from you, and to possibly work with you or have you speak at one of their events or something like that?
My website's dianapagano.com.
Cool.
Just Diana, D-I-A-N-A, like Princess Diana with one N. dianapagano.com. You can also find me on social media. Obviously, you can go to all my social media platforms there. I do post events on my website for different things that I will be having. It should be up in the next couple of weeks. And then Instagram, I am Diana Pagano. Yeah.
Awesome. So I will link all of that up in the show notes, and I'll let you know as soon as this is live. And Diana, once again, thank you so much for your time and wisdom today.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure, Chris. Thank you so much, and good luck with your podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey everyone, Chris Bello here. Just wanted to thank you real quick for listening to the show, whether you're listening on podcast or YouTube or wherever it is that you may be listening. I wanted to make that quick offer about real estate help. I am in the real estate business. That is my main business, and how I make all my income and my living by helping others buy, sell, rent, or invest in real estate across the nation. If you have any questions at all, go to chrisbello.com/real estate. Again, that is chrisbello.com/real estate. I'd love to see if I can help you out in my markets. And maybe if you're in a market outside of the ones that I'm focusing on right now, I'd love to connect you with a real estate professional who can help fulfill whatever needs or services that you are requiring. So again, go to chrisbello.com/real estate. A great thing is when I connect you with a vetted professional, if I'm not able to help you myself, is whenever a transaction closes, I'm actually able to get a referral commission. So that can be a great way of thanking me for my content. It helps to support the show, and it helps me to continue to spend time bringing on amazing guests, doing these great interviews, spending a lot of time on creating content, and making sure that I can bring you the very best information that you need to grow professionally, emotionally, intelligently, and in every single area. You know, we're all working on getting better at everything. And so my focus and expertise is in real estate. I'd love to be the one to help you again. If you're not interested in that, no worries at all. Please continue to listen to the show. Make sure you leave a review. It helps so much in getting new followers and sharing the message. And thank you once again for being a listener. I'll catch you on the next episode.